Hello, this is Chris with Custom Creative Carvings. Welcome to my shop. Over the past couple of days, I've been working on some projects with my new diamond engraving bit, and I did a short where I showed the finished product, and I asked the people who are giving me all the positive feedback, thank you for the positive feedback, if you wanted to just see an entertaining quick montage, or if you wanted me to go through a full instructional walkthrough. They wanted a full walkthrough, so this is going to be a full walkthrough. It is going to take a little bit longer than what I've been trying to with the 5-6 minute videos. The carve itself took, I think, 12-13 minutes, but I'm going to go through what I did on the computer to build it. We're going to talk about how we loaded it on this CNC. Let's get to that. Let's hop into the software and see how I program this in Vectric Aspire. This can also be done just as easily in Vectric Pro, I believe even in Vectric Desktop, because we are not dealing with any 3D modeling at this point. We are just using a rotary or fourth axis. So let's head over to the computer and do some programming.
Here we are in Aspire. We first start by coming in, opening a new job. That'll pop us up here where with our job setup, we decide whether we're doing single, double, or rotary. Because this is a cylinder, we're going to be doing it on the rotary. We do want to select rotary. Your length and diameter. Diameter is going to be the overall diameter of your project, while your length is the workable area that you've got set. My Z0 position, I went with cylinder surface. And then XY datum, I used right in the center. And then offset it 2.35 inches. Orientation along the x-axis, and so right here we're seeing, as this is set up, from here to here is the 4.5 inches. This is the work surface area on that 3-inch diameter as the face of the cylinder. Now we build our products. So the different things that we've got in this, I'm just going to pop this up because I've already got them built. So I've got my logo. And all I did here was just started text. I made a capital C. Picked Sitka because that's the shape or the style I wanted. Come out of here, Control C, Control V. That gives me my second C. Control V, that gives me my third C. And we're just going to line this up where I want that. Bring this down where I want that. Use the arrow keys to get them that fine refinement. And then once I've got them exactly where I want them, select them all, come down here, weld them together. You can't weld text, so it's going to say keep it as, or turn it into a curve. And so I just want to replace it. That's going to weld these together and make them one single object. I need them oriented the other way, so I'm going to use the 0 key to rotate them, and then I'm lined up. For this logo, this crest, it was a little bit more difficult because I didn't want to draw this from scratch. So I just did a search on the interweb and found this crest, saved the image, file, import, bitmap, pick that, bring it in. This brings in the bitmap. From there I need to turn this into a vector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, with the bitmap selected, come over here, trace bitmap. This is going to bring up the options to select which colors I want to trace. So if I just do that color and preview, this is all that's going to show. Let's get rid of that bitmap altogether. Fade that all the way out. So that is all I need to get is those lines. I need a lot more than that. Bring that back so we can see. It highlights what you're going to trace in blue. One issue you run into is when you get too many colors, it starts blending things together, which is kind of backwards the way I look at it. But if you notice the difference between 10 colors and 9 colors right here on the text, or 8 colors, 10 colors, we lose that text. And so I definitely want to keep it at the lower number of colors so I can maintain that text. From there, I'm going to figure out which colors are essential. Now, if I look at this color and the yellow, those both overlap a lot. So we preview that, and it gives us a really rough line only with these grays in between. So if I get rid of the blue and then just do the yellow, that gives me a more solid line. Now keep in mind, this has got all these little bumps in here. That's what these other colors are, is just little tiny. And so you just play with it, find what works for you. See, that looks like it's going to be a lot harder for me to clean up than that. And then you start looking at all the different details that you want. See these little dots in here? I don't need that. That's just, to me, a little bit noise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter some of that noise out. Preview. That got rid of that noise in there, giving me less to clean up. So this is starting to look pretty good. I like the preview. You can come in here and play with sharpness. Right now I'm at tightness 60%. I bring that up to 100% tightness, and that's going to give me sharper angles. I don't necessarily need that. I think that 60% is going to give me the rounded less to clean up, because I'm going to have to go through and select each of these and do edit node after I'm done with it to get them clean. So I'm going to close it out, or apply it. Make sure you apply. Close it out. So now I need to separate the bitmap from the vector, so I'm going to move the bitmap over here. Now I've got my vector. Can come in here, say, you know what, I don't really like this right there, so I'll come into node editing. I actually have nothing against this right here, but just for example, there are two ways you can do this. You select those and you hit delete, and it's going to delete the entire frame. You do not want that, so I'm going to Control Z to bring that back. Delete points. That's going to move that out. Shortcut for that is if you tap on it, then you can just hit the D key and it'll delete that also. So that'll get rid of your lines. If you don't need to spend extra time carving little stuff, clear it out. You can be surprised at how much time some of these little tiny things add, and they don't really add benefit. So make sure you clean up, just selecting and hit delete, because I want it gone. Select and delete, cleaning those things up. I would take a bit more time and clean this up. These would be ones that I would be very specific about cleaning up, because these I would want them to be straight lines. So I'm going to select and hit D. Come in here. I don't need all this noise. Select D. Select D. I'm going to delete this whole thing. Delete that whole thing. So get rid of the noise, clean it up as far as you want. This is just going to create your vectors for you to trace. I already have it over here. So this is the one that I actually used. So I've got a lot of detail in there. Probably could have rounded those corners to make it a little cleaner like I did in this one. Definitely could have cleaned up this, but as you'll see in the end result, it didn't make a huge difference even with these wavy lines in there. So for my text, select that one, open it in text editor. I used Stardo stencil for this. I did not have a stencil, so I had to go in, find a stencil or find a font on the internet, download it, import it into Vectric so I could have this stencil font. If you would like me to show you, do a walkthrough video on how to import a stencil, I can gladly do that. Just drop a note in the comments and I will make a video about how to get a new stencil, or a new font rather, any font you want, doesn't have to be a stencil, into Vectric. So I just built that, typed that out, and then used the 0 key to rotate it 90 degrees to fit within my, from here, use the 0 key. So 9 goes that way. So it was there, I rotated it 0, and then I did alignments to align everything up, get everything where I wanted. From here, it was time to build my tool paths. So we've got some options here. No. Ooh, that one's a fun one. Quick engraving toolpath. That is the one I used. Click on that, and this is the option to pull up. Quick engrave. I am using my engraving tool. I'm running at 30 inches per minute with a 30-inch plunge. I'm using my 90-degree bit on this, not my 120. My 120 I'm saving for stone. So we've got our tool. Depth pressure, you set your Z, this is going to go 1/8 of an inch deeper, putting pressure on that. On the logo, I decided to do an infill with a 0.0313 step over, I did a hatch oriented at 60 degrees. I liked the look of that, wanted to try it out. Named it Legacy 4th Axis ATC. I'm not outputting directly to the machine. I'm not saving the toolpath at this point. I'm calculating the toolpath because I want to save all three of these toolpaths together. So we'll calculate it. It's going to come out here to my spindle or a 3D version of my spindle. And I can preview it. The preview on engraves I found did not work very well. So I'll show you what it looks like. Preview visible. It's going to run through it, show you on the flat stock, pull it out in the roll stock. It disappears at this point. If you scroll the wheel, zoom out, zoom in, it actually brings the model back. But something about the engraving path, it just doesn't show, even on high definition, it doesn't show what it's actually doing. So I like to just do it, say it's in the right area, show me the toolpath. Toolpath looks good. And so I'm going to close that out, come back over to my 2D view. I'd select this, do another quick engrave. Same things with this one. Instead of doing a hatch, I did an offset. Now I did 0.0215. I've edited this since because 215 was a little bit too tight, and we see that in our finished product. But the reason I went with 215 or went that tight is because at the size font I had, it actually caused a problem. So this is at 0.3, got it, all the rest of the settings are the same. But as we look at this, right here on the H, there is no infill in there. So I went to the 0.215 to get a little bit of infill there, and probably would have been a better idea to leave it at a 0.3 or 0.03 or better, and then make the font a little bit bigger so there is a little bit more gap between these lines. Okay, we've got that. Then we come back to 2D, select this one. Again, we're going to use this. I've already got it done. This one I just did an outline. So my idea with this was I wanted to do all three different types. I wanted to do a outline, an hatch fill, and an offset fill. So I tested all three. This one I did the outline. Again, calculate it. So now I've got all three calculated, and I could preview all three. But as I look at them here, it shows me how I've got all three on there and how they're going to relate, what kind of spacing I've got, make sure everything looks good, happy with it. So I'll close my preview and just come here, and it'll give me all three and the total time. This is based on a rapid rate scale factor. I'm not sure. That doesn't seem to change a whole lot. I just leave it where it's at. Now I come into Save Toolpaths. I've got all three selected. Like I said, I'm doing them all to one, visible toolpaths to one file. Using the right post processor, Save Toolpath. But that's how I built the file for this particular project. If you want me to go in depth on any of those specific processes, let me know in the comments and I will make a video for that specific process.
All right, so here we are at the 4th axis of the Legacy Maverick. We've got our tailstock, we've got our headstock. On the tailstock, I've got a cone that is for fitting cups and bowls onto. And so that's going to hold one end of it. On the tailstock, this is actually for holding bowls. So it's just meant to put a bowl in there and just grab down on it. I've got a 4-jaw record power chuck to where I can take my project. It's already carved, but here's how I did it. Slide it over, drop it in. Okay, so just where there's just a little bit firm there. And then these will center up this side. And now it's in there ready to go. I did make sure to line up the logo with straight up because I did my offset to be offset right here from center so it would line up perfect. The center of the project was way over here, but I wanted to center this logo over the Yeti, so that's why I did my offset. So that's how I mounted it. From there, I just loaded the code, centered it. My y-axis was center anyway, centered my x-axis right on the center here, measured down, put a pencil mark, lined it up there. And then my z, I just brought it down with a piece of paper, did a paper touch off because the diamond tip is not good to push into this, and it's not going to give me feedback on the smart tool pad because the diamond is non-conductive. Sorry, Paul. Wrapping up another project. Turned out great. Engraved the Yeti. Engraved the blender bottle. One thing I did notice is, despite how great the Yeti turned out, I think the thicker paint caused us to lose a little bit in the finer areas where we tried to get in too tight. I think it just scraped away some of that thicker paint where we didn't have that issue when we did our test carve on the blender bottle. We were able to get a lot crisper lines on the thinner paint. So it worked really well. I would definitely recommend the Widgetworks Diamond Drag Bit. This one was the 90 degree, and got a lot more projects coming with the 120. Gonna do a lot of carving in stone. So if you hit like on this one, I appreciate it. But if you hit subscribe and that notification bell, when those next videos come out, you will get notified that they're up. I will give a shout out to the guys down at Legacy. Enjoy every day I get to use my Maverick 3x5, and looking forward to upgrading to the 4x8 in the near future. Thanks for watching. This is Chris with Custom Creative Carvings. We'll see you in the next video.